Alrighty, we are looking at the ZK today, and we're going to give you a few hints and tricks and tips that I'm applying on this mower compared to the one I bought 6 years ago, being a newbie, and some things that I thought I would change up in my maintenance routine to see if I can extend some parts lives longer. So first thing would be the deck wheels. When I first got my mower, the deck wheel brackets here and these three were in this notch here, so they were a little bit lower on the ground, and it worked nice for an idea. But since I'm running a variety of different grasses here in Florida, either the high St. Augustines or the low Bahia, on the lower yards, since we have a mix of yards, you would actually end up dragging the wheels when you'd have the deck set at 2.5 or 2 3/4. So this mower was already set, thankfully, with the deck wheels where they are, and that's been a big help. And we're not dragging the wheels, we're not tearing up the brackets. On my my original ZK second generation that I bought, I basically just tore up all these brackets, and they're basically worthless now. So thankfully, seeing where these deck brackets were, we left them there, and I think we're going to get a lot longer life out of our deck wheels that way. Another thing, and I love this mower, and having this third wheel is very helpful. But you got to be careful around going around concrete blocks. You got to be careful about different edges in the concrete, and you got to be careful. See, we've even shaved some paint there, shaved some wear there, because this will drag if you're not super duper careful, which I have drug a bunch. And some of the care with the deck wheels coincides back here with the control arms, which we'll talk in a minute. So many times, and I've missed it already with this mower, is I'll be going around and I'll glance away, and I'll catch this angle with a stump or whatever, and it just jars the whole mower back and forth. And so that's, at least for me, trying to watch this corner better, give it more space, not cut it quite as close, and let this wheel do its job compared to ripping up the deck. So, and the first one I bought, it was in the middle of the year because I had the hydros go down on a Cup Cadet I had, so found a good deal on my first ZK that I bought. And so we're just trying to get the yards done. So loving the way the mower worked, but not taking care or thought of how to extend the life of some of these components. So every time you're dragging the deck, or you're running into something, running into a stump or whatever, and just stopping the entire machine, where you're running up so hard and then the machine kind of just twists to the side, that's tearing up these components back here, these amazing ball joints here. So you got this portion goes in the brackets back there, and what I ended up having with the other one was we wore it out so bad that the whole deck would just vibrate back and forth because this joint was ruined. I might pause the video here and see if I can rustle up the old joints, but these are $200+ a piece. So, and they are a little bit of a pain because these are put on with a special Loctite that you have to heat up before you can get them off easily. So just a little bit of care with not running your deck into concrete, into stumps, into anything that's stable. Just don't do it. And that will help extend these bolts, because it's really a pain. I was going to try just running the mower with those joints the way they were, but they were so worn out. And the whole deck just, it was really a pain to mow that way. So but that's one thing I'm trying to take more care of, is how to not beat the daylights out of those joints. Now, another thing, with the variety of yards I have down here in Florida, we've got so much rain. We've got yards that don't drain well. We have yards that fill up with water. We have some areas where the water is splashing up here above the hub. So what I did, and these are those nice self-sealed, and these are the Nice sealed bearings inside there. They are $25 a piece. So what I've done, so you got two on each side. What I've done the last on the last mower, and then again on this mower, was to take this assembly apart and then run anti-seize on this little spacer here to help ward off some of the just debris. What would probably be a good idea to do too is to run some compressed air and to clean those out from corrosive material, because you got so much rain, you've got the dirt, and then you've got all the different fertilizers as well. So all of that combines and rusts in the daylights out of those bearings, and then you're getting issues where, you know, it's jumping up and down, it's wallowing out these bolts, and this is a large bolt, a little bit expensive. So all those little details really help out with extending the life of those parts. Now, on the same water idea of trying to extend the life of some components, and then just looking at ways that some of these parts are harmed by extended water use, which unfortunately we have. All these areas, you want to clean those out, which I will be doing here shortly. I've got a tip here on the wheels as well. But one thing on these mowers is this line right here. And you see how much mud is there currently. Not too bad, you say. But on some of these days where, you know, it's just rain, and you're putting the mower away wet sometimes, and maybe even possibly over Saturdays, which I did. I'm trying not to do that now, because what happens was this part was rusting here, and I actually had on the other mower, it rusted all the way through. And I believe it is a steel. It's not stainless, but it is a steel line of sorts. So I just went ahead and anti-seized both of these hose outlets on both sides to help extend the life. And the best thing, like this one actually needs to be recoated again. Yeah. But anyways, that's stuff to do to help if you're running in real wet areas. If you're not, don't worry about it. You don't need to do that at all. Alright, so another thing with the really wet grasses, you got to keep the corners, and this is just, you know, ZK specific, you got to keep these corners clean. So I'm going to take my air nozzle here, and I try to use the blower, you know, when I park the mowers over the weekend or, you know, day off, I try to run the blower to get these big portions. Sometimes it's not enough. So it's good to get in here and just clean it up, especially around the deck joint. And you got this one over here. Same thing. Just clean that off. Clean off around there. Okay? Oh, it's actually raining right now. Another place I had an issue with was with these, the bushings here for your foot plate. See all that grass? Well, once that collects with mud and just sits there over weeks, because I didn't know the mower as well, it sits, it rots, it deteriorates. When I took this apart on my other mower about 3 years ago, it looked like the mower had been sitting in salt water. It was that rusty, it was that flaky. I had to cut the bolts off of these, the rubber bounce, whatever you want to call them, bounce joist or whatever. So, you know, on your at least once a week, for me anyways, just try to take this, you know, this nozzle, go in here, blow out. It's messy, it's nasty, I don't like it. My brother doesn't like it. But compared to having this stuff grind up in here, and you got to get on these corners here too, you know, around the back of it. And some of it you can just brush back with your fingers to get a better idea of how much is still sticking there. So like with this one, it just went right in my face. But compared to having to deep clean this and scrape and then repaint, it's kind of a small price to pay. So you gotta get that corner, see it sticks over here, get in the middle, get underneath. I mean, that's really strong, thick gauge steel, but you know, rust and time and contaminants in the soil and the fertilizers and everything, it will rot this out heavily. So this saves you some work later, to go ahead and clean that out. All right, now as I'm all dirty, you know exactly what you're getting. All right, so another thing is, with the type of grasses we're mowing, with how tall they are, with how much mud, another area, and this is mainly just for your tweels, because you've got all these slots. So what happens is that, depending on the type of grass, you'll get this area right here where grass will clog up all over the top. So a couple of things, obviously that's bad for your cooling. Another thing is, as it sits there and wet, it starts corroding clamps, fittings, etc. So you really, yeah, so we got it cleaned up pretty well. We really don't, there's a little bit in the corner, see, I need to get with the nozzle. Most of that can be blown out with your backpack blower. But as you saw, there's that one portion where you just can't quite get it. So you got some junk here. So you really want to keep that cleaned out with your running tweels on your ZK, which I do recommend if it fits your budget. All right, so thankfully we're doing an oil change in this boy today. It is at 100 and what? We're going to call it 70 hours. So those are some tips and tricks of care on the ZK second generation series, Florida edition. This is for Florida. If you're hitting a lot of rain, if you're hitting a lot of dry areas, we got a combination of real lush green grass and then more sandy bahia. So, and it does take a toll on a wonderful machine like this. So I wouldn't trade it. I wouldn't go to a simpler machine, but there is some extra care that goes into keeping this machine as economical and repair free as possible. So there's some tips and tricks I found out. There's another thing with the clutch you want to watch out for. We'll cover that in a different video. But since this is such a special, the top tier machine for Wright standard, a lot of these components do cost a little bit more. So if you can if you can do a little bit more maintenance, stretch that care, you're going to find you spend a lot less on this machine. You're going to spend a lot less time on big repairs and more time using it to make money. So anywho, oh, one more area too, always keep those areas blown out as well, because it's grass catches there. One thing nice too, the only update that was different on this mower was so far was this little piece. I'm not sure why. I don't know if it was just an extra rain guard perhaps to keep the belts dry, but it's worked out good. The dual exhaust is nice. Still loving the 27 horse Kawasaki. I'm not seeing anything else really different. They went to more of a grip handle instead of the more slippery plastic. So that's working out good. The brake seems to be a little bit less, it doesn't have as much of a clunk, but it still works great. Another thing to watch for too, and I'm going to need to do this as well. Oh yeah, I almost forgot about this. While you're mowing, watch your hoses. I actually need to run a piece of hose right here because with the breakdown, this hose just rubs right there. Now we can move them out of the way, and that might help. But just watch some details like this, and then watch these pieces as well as it ages. So another thing too, I'm just remembering more stuff as we go along here. On my other mower, one thing I need to replace is all of these heim joints. So, well, maybe not. That one's, well, yeah, mine are pretty sloppy. These feel pretty good. The other one has quite a bit of slop to it. I can take you back and look. Yeah, my other mower has a lot of slop here, so that would help my hydro situation by repairing those. Yeah, there we go. Anywho, the other mower is still in good shape. I just think it needs some hydro work, either the pump or the motor. And at the time, it was just better to buy the brand new mower and get stuff working. So, but that mower is still good, a great backup. We're just going to look at ways we need to best spend money to make it last even longer. And it's got 2,600 hours on it, which is a original motor too. So basically a baby still, really. So make sure you keep your battery clean. I already did that. Watch for corrosion there. And if I think of more, we'll do a second video. So thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.